Happy Thursday, everyone. Welcome to another edition, another coaching call for closing sake. I'm super excited. I'm super excited about today's conversation because this is the gold mine. This is the gold mine of finding freedom in your business, time freedom, money freedom, right? This is where you really figure out what you really need to be doing and what you can give to someone else so that you can create again more time, more structure, and really run your business like a business. I think I've mentioned to you guys that this is even the focus. My word for the year. My word for the year is execution. And so when you're executing, there are some things that you just absolutely have to address in order to effectively execute. And so for those who have not had the opportunity to join us before, again, welcome to For Closing Sake. The purpose and the mission For Closing Sake, this weekly closing coaching call, closing, as our closing's on my mind, right? Coaching call is to provide a weekly coaching call for realtors to discuss the latest trends and need to know information to grow your business. Again, we in our business we work with individuals, right? And we have the gift and the responsibility of helping people accomplish their home ownership dreams, right? To sell a home, purchase a home. And so, we deal with people, but at the end of the day, as we say, this is not a charity, right? At the end of the day, we still have our own homes to purchase, our own properties to invest in, and et cetera. And so no one wants to stay stagnant. So the conversation this week is how do you grow your business, right? For those who I have not had an opportunity to meet before, my name is Racole Jackson. I'm a coach. I'm a real estate coach, real estate business development coach. I coach realtors on how to find more freedom in their business, right? How to grow their business so that they can find time freedom and money freedom. One thing I always say is that this is not real estate school doesn't teach you how to run a business. They teach you how to get a license. And from that point, how do you run and operate and develop a business? I am the CEO of Title Experts. I'm the CEO of Realty Law Group, which is a real estate law firm. I am the CEO of Agent CEO Accelerator. And so essentially, I was not born that way. And so I take great pleasure in coming back and having this conversation with my colleagues. I was a licensed realtor first. I tell you guys all the time, I was a licensed realtor first. From an education standpoint, I got my bachelor's from the University of Florida, law degree from Santa Clara University School of Law, came back, got my LLM in real property development from University of Miami School of Law. And I'm currently licensed in Florida. My first license was in California that I got during my first year of law school. So I always knew I was going to be in the transaction side. Quick commercial break because my team allows me the opportunity to come in here and have this conversation each week. I love to acknowledge them. My team at Title Experts. If you have not had an opportunity to work with us before, I 100% welcome you to give us a shot. If you've never worked with us before, we are an attorney managed firm. We do provide a dedicated closing team. We do provide regular status updates. I put weekly there, but they come, when anything happens on your file, we want to let you know that. Transparency is important, right? We want, one of the main complaints that I hear very often is, I don't know what's going on until there's a problem. And so that is absolutely what we absolutely prevent as it relates to our closing services. And then obviously rush processing is available. This is the small portion of our closing team. Again, if you have a new deal come in while we're on, contracts at titleexperts.com. If you have general questions, closings at titleexperts.com. And then if you have any questions, we are proud of our vanity number, 866-5-Experts, right? So let's get into today's conversation. The theme for this month is the 4 disciplines of execution for realtors, how to accomplish your business goals in 2022. And again, as you guys know, it is based on this book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution. It's a book that I've had for a while now, and that I have it on Audible as well. And then I have the hard copy that I mark up sometimes as I'm listening to both. And honestly, guys, it just really gets to the heart of, you're going to make plans. Everyone has plans, but ideas they come a dime a dozen. Execution creates the value. That's where the money comes in, right? And so the four disciplines of execution, and the reason why I've heard this conversation before, we idolize and we celebrate. We celebrate people that consistently execute, because we know that that's the greatest challenge, is execution, and not just execution, but consistent execution. And so one of the training programs that I developed is the Agent CEO. And the premise behind the Agent CEO is, again, real estate school taught you how to get your license, but they didn't teach you how to run a business. But at the end of the day, God, you are in a phenomenal position to run a very lucrative and rewarding business. You have, for the most part, location freedom. You can set up situations where you can be in Tahiti, but have an agreement with someone to show property in Florida. And the sky is the limit on how much you can make, right? And so during this conversation this month, and really throughout the year, it is my goal that you begin to think like a CEO. Act like an agent, but think like a CEO. So a recap of the last 2 weeks of our conversation. Remember, execution, the definition of execution is to carry out a plan, put a course of action in place, to do the thing. We've talked about it. We've written it out. That's the business plan. Now let's do it. And why focus on execution? Because ideas do not make you rich. This is not a charity. The correct execution of ideas does. We're doing this to make money, right? We've chosen this to be our income generating opportunity. And so in order to receive that income, here we go. Implementation precedes income. So how do I push this thing? How do I make sure that I implement? And remember, ideas are yesterday. Ideas are always going to be yesterday, because it was yesterday or the week before, or October, November, December, when you wrote down your ideas. Execution is always today. And the excellence, the reward that you receive will be tomorrow. So if you embody that, if you wrap your arms around that, I took the time to write down my ideas. Now today, every day is execution day. Every day is execution day. And the big reward of your execution today, you will likely see tomorrow, right? Plan your execution, execute your plan. One thing I want to say, because this is not already planned as part of our conversation schedule, in planning your execution, guys, we talked about business planning, and I mentioned this before, but I want to make a point to mention this now, because execution is each day. Remember, plan your day, plan even your day. When you wake up, what time are you waking up? What are you doing when you wake up? It would be exceptional if you literally planned your entire day. Because guess what? That's oftentimes why we fail to execute. We don't have a plan. So again, if we show up with no plan, everyone else's priorities, everyone else's executions will overtake and displace ours. And so our planning is not just for 3 deals closed each month to hit 36 deals for X number of gross commission each year. It also includes, what am I doing each day to get those 3 deals per month, right? What time am I dialing? What time am I prospecting? What time am I doing all these? What time am I giving towards learning? Because that's important too, right? So let's think. You guys probably heard this term before. Macro planning, macro execution, and micro. Macro, micro. Macro is your quarter, your month, your year, but micro is each day, because that's the compound effect, right? So again, it's our book. Today we're on discipline number 2. Now the book calls it Act on Lead Measures. We call it Income Producing Activity First. That's what it's all about. Income producing activities first. Income producing activity first. If it doesn't make dollars, it does not make sense. I don't want to talk about it right now, right? So because lead measures are the activities that are most connected to achieving your business goals. Today's conversation is going to give you clarity around what you really need to be doing and what can wait, or what can be delegated, or what does not need to be done at all. 4 options: what you need to do, what can be delegated, what can wait, and what really is just not important right now, right? So we focus on lead measures because those are the ones that are most closely tied to the goal. Remember, lag measures, we talked about lag measures in our first discussion of this book. They measure your outcomes. You cannot focus so much on the commission check that you don't give any focus to the prospecting. The prospecting to get the appointment, to get the contract, comes before the commission check. There's so much more that happens before the commission check that we're not giving appropriate focus and time and attention to. And those things, if they're executed properly, they take care of the rest. They take care of the commission check. Your lag measures are after the fact. And the reason why we don't want to spend too much time on lag measures is because it's too late at that point. Once we found out, oh no, we didn't get the 3 deals this month, it's too late. You can't recover except to start all over again at the prospecting and the so this is why we have to put so much focus on the income producing activity first, or what the book calls the lead measure. So this is going to give you some perspective as to why you have to put so much attention on the lead measure. How long is our real estate cycle? Essentially, how long does it take to receive a commission check? I would estimate on average, on the low range, say about 45 days. What you guys say, about 45 days? And that's on the listing side. Working with buyers in this market, oh, it's a whole 60, 90. It's getting really bad, right? As our inventory slows down, contact to commission check keeps getting wider and wider and wider and wider. So with that being in mind, do you have time to wait to get your cycle started? Do you have time to wait to address your income producing activities first? I don't think so. If we know that the clock won't start until these particular activities are addressed, why don't we address them? And then remember, we want to address them not just macro, but it has to be micro. We have to execute absolutely every day, right? So again, with that cycle, because we realize that we have this cycle that's on a minimum 45 days, to a commission check, do you have time not to address your income producing activities first every day? Do you have time to wait between getting to the check? I would say no. I would say no. I don't have time to wait. If my clock is about 45 days, then I need to make sure that I start my clock every day, that I'm moving the clock forward for my income producing activities. Now, the second part of the discussion today, the book also called the discipline of leverage. And I'm sure you've heard this term before. I'm sure most of you have heard this term before. And if you have not heard this term before, welcome to the discussion of leverage. Leverage means to utilize a person, place, or thing to accomplish a result, to assist you in easily accomplish a result. Leverage. I'm using case in point. I had this conversation with when I was doing a business training on another call. Racole individually. This is how a CEO thinks, guys. And this is why you guys are agent CEOs. Individually, I can close each day, say 3 files, if it was just me as an individual. But once I put systems in place, processes in place, such that I can duplicate myself and have 10 team members out there, now we're closing 30 files per day, and I'm not even touching it. That's what the CEO does. So it takes time to get to this point, but this is leverage. This is leverage. And so now, once the team member understands, they're completing all the tasks that don't require the closing attorney. So now the closing attorney, instead of doing all the things, and I'm only focused on the things that they cannot do, now we're doing 30 versus 3. So I ask you, what are all the tasks that you complete as an agent? That's what this discussion is about today. What are all the tasks that you complete as an agent? We can just run the list. Oh man, we cold call or we door knock, whatever your prospecting channel is. And then once you get a yes, once you get someone raise their hand and say, yes, I'll meet with you, you put together the information that you're going to present at the listing appointment or the buyer's consultation, right? You pull the properties that you're going to show when you take your buyer out for showing, or you pull the properties that you're going to show or discuss with the seller when you do your listing appointment, right? If you get under contract, you're going to schedule the photographer. You got to review the photographer's photos. You have to get it up in the MLS. Everyone, I know every agent hates upload. I mean, it's a gift. It's bittersweet, right? You got a new listing, but you got to put all that information in the MLS, right? You got to come up with the description, all the little different fields. You got to take all the costs for the showing appointments. You got to. Oh my God, all the things. All of the things. Now, they have to happen. They 100%, these things have to get done. The lesson for today, guys, is for you to do 2 things. 2 things. I need you to make a list of all the things that you do. You're going to make a list of all the things that you do. You got to really look, and this is how you start building your processes and procedures so that it becomes a 30 versus a 3 situation. All the things that you do, all of the things that you do to work with the buyer, all of the things that you do to work with the seller, all of the things that you do to market your business. There's not anything that you have to finalize, obviously, today. It's going to take time, but I would suggest that you keep a running list of all the things that you do. All the things that you do. Guess what the next step is going to be? The next step is going to be to highlight what are your income producing activities. And we can take it another step further. Of those income producing activities, what are the things that only you can do as a licensed realtor? You guys remember that list? I'm going to put a list together. When we get to the month where we're talking about transaction coordinators and assistants, we're going to put together that list. I'm going to share that list with you of the things that you only can do and those things that your assistant can do. Right? So 2 things. 1, what are all the things that you do? What are all the things that you do in a transaction? Number 2, of all those 200 things, because if you break it down enough, you might get to 200. Of all those 200 tasks that you complete, which one are your income producing activities? You got to bold those, because those are the things that you have to execute on every day without fail. Do not let anything, guys, do not let anything displace your income producing activity. And here's another level of accountability, which we'll talk about next week. When you get ready to replace what you know to be your income producing activities, you have to say to yourself again, is this worth me not getting my commission check? Is this worth me waiting on a commission check? If I don't do this today, whatever it is, if you know that you cold call, whatever, if I don't do this today, if I don't show these properties today, if I don't write this offer today, is this other thing that I've chosen to replace with that time, is it worth me not receiving a commission check? And again, the next step is, of those things that are income producing activities, use, for example, cold calling. We've had a virtual assistant on the real estate side for going over 8 years now. Cold calling and prospecting must happen, but it doesn't have to happen by you, the CEO. There's someone else that can complete that task, right? So now you're freed up to really, really do the things that only you can do. Case in point, you have your dialer or your inside sales agent, however you call it, your VA. While your VA is dialing, you're at the appointment that she set. That's how we run. So you see how you get 30 versus 3? So the last point, this conversation comes out of this book. And you guys see all these books behind me. Because through this year, I really want to have a conversation about thinking harder versus working harder. That's what a CEO does. They think. They're paid to think. A CEO is, there's also a book called Paid to Think. You're paid to think. And this book is called Who, Not How. What is the premise of this book? And we're going to talk about this book when we talk about virtual assistants and administrative assistants. That means, who can I find to do this thing versus me taking my time to figure out how to do it? If that's not my highest and best use, you can be like me. I at least want to be familiar with it, so I know if you just messing something up. I do. That's me. I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of a micromanager that way, in that I want to know the general way of how to do it, so that I can then find the who. Because that also helps you find the who too. If you interview someone to do a thing and you ask them how they're going to accomplish it, and you know how it should be done, and they're telling you something way left field, that's not your who. Think about it. Generally, a CEO has come up the ranks. I'm trying to push you guys up the ranks as soon as possible. As soon as possible. So I leave you with those 3 things, and we wrapping up kind of soon today. All your tasks. What are your income producing activities? What must be done every day? And then what must be done, but it doesn't have to be done by you. Now we're getting time freedom. Now we're putting you in your zone of genius. Now we're putting you in what you really enjoy about your real estate business, right? Because let's be honest, we don't like everything about what we do. That's just what it is. Right? We don't like everything about this business. We don't. But there's someone that does like it. And so you can put them in that space. So in closing, as we wrap our arms around this idea of, number one, what are all the things that are necessary for me to receive a commission check? What are all those things that need to be done? Number two, what are the most important things? What are the most important things? And really look at, what are all the things that you're doing with your day? You know, yeah, we need to volunteer and be a part of some organizations, but again, do you need to be a part of so many organizations? Because for closing's sake, we're trying to get to the check. And then lastly, we're gonna pivot and look at which of those vital key activities can be assigned to someone else. Can you put what we call leverage in place? So the closing thought is, if you don't have an assistant, you are the assistant. If you don't have an assistant, you are the assistant. And the assistant, they don't really drive the highest level of income producing activities, right? The assistant doesn't go out and do listing appointments. That's what they do. I know. So we need to separate the CEOs, you all, the CEOs, from the non-income producing activities so that you can hit your income producing activities first for closing sake, for the commission check sake, right? All right. Listen, that was a lot in a little bit of time because there's more for you to do outside of our discussion than there is to be done during our conversation. Go make your list, start identifying who can do something else, and then we'll get to a discussion down the road on who, not how. It's been a pleasure having this conversation. This is absolutely my passion. This is my passion. This is my passion, guys. This is, people say, how do you do everything? Who, not how. I started saying, hey, this is not my highest and best use. You probably hear me say this again. This is not my highest and best use. This is not my, I had to learn how to do it again, guys. Remember, my team, there is not one thing. Remember this thing too, because we're going to talk about transaction coordinators, but you guys will never say Racole said put a transaction coordinator on and run. There is not one thing, guys, that my team knows how to do that I don't know how to do. I promise you. Promise you. There's not one thing. No, one thing. So I want you guys to learn up and out of the mundane task. All right? This has been fun.